Good morning, dear students. Today we are back with a new chapter, chapter number 4 of business studies, that is planning. Planning is the first function of management. Okay, we are having 5 functions of management, starting with planning, next organizing, next directing, staffing, and controlling. Okay, so we will learn one by one about all these functions. But first, let us see what is planning. Planning is an activity which decides the future course of action, or deciding in advance what is to be done in the future, how it has to be done, who will do, and how to do it. So you can see the meaning here. Deciding in advance what to do, how to do it. So it is one of the managerial function, and it involves two aspects. Okay, first is to set the objective, and number 2 is selecting and developing an appropriate course of action to achieve this objective. Okay, first you have to set the objective, and next you have to plan that how to achieve the objective. So these two aspects are involved. Now you can see the famous definition given by Kuhn O'Donnell. Planning is deciding in advance what to do, how to do, when to do, and who to do it. So planning bridges the gap between where we are and where we want to go. So it makes possible the things which would happen, which would otherwise would not happen. Okay, so what future activities has to be done is done in planning. So it involves setting of objectives and developing an appropriate course of action to achieve this objective. So first we will set the objective, then we will set the course of directions or actions which has to be done to achieve those objectives. Okay, understood? So now let us see what is the importance, how important planning is. So number 1 point, planning provides direction, because planning is deciding in advance what is to be done in the future. So it provides the direction, or it provides us the steps to how to achieve the goal or organizations. Okay, by stating in advance how the work is to be done, planning provides direction for action. If there were no planning, employees would be working in different directions. Okay, because of planning they are able to achieve the goal effectively. Number 2, planning reduces risk of uncertainty. Planning is an activity which enables a manager to look ahead, that is in the future, and anticipate the change, what changes may come in the future, and consider the impact of change and develop appropriate responses. So planning actually takes an account of the future happening and events, and according to that the planning is made. So we reduce the risk of uncertainty. Okay, the risk is taken into account and planning is done appropriately. So it reduces risk of uncertainty. Number 3, planning reduces wasteful activities, that is, it coordinates the activities and efforts of different departments and individuals, whereby useless and redundant activities are mentioned. Okay, so it reduces the overlapping activities of different departments, because the unplanned activity, each department and their work is allotted and assigned. Number 4, planning promotes innovative ideas. Why? Because planning function is the first function which gives an opportunity to the manager to develop new ideas and bring new innovative steps in achieving the plans. Okay, so brings innovation. Number 5, planning facilitates decision making. Of course, under planning targets are laid down, and manager has to evaluate each and select the most appropriate task or achieving. Okay, you have to decide that which task has to be taken and which step has to be taken. And last, planning establishes standard for controlling, because planning predetermines the actions to be taken, and it helps in controlling the activities, that is how the activities are going, and if there is any deviation, to control the same. Now limitation, though we have the importance, there are still limitation of planning. Internal limitations are there. Number 1, it leads to rigidity. Why? Because the person has to follow the planned activities. The person implementing the plans, they do not have any new idea or innovative or creative idea to bring into the same. Okay, so it is rigid. You cannot change the planned activity, so planning leads to rigidity. Number 2, planning may not work in dynamic environment. Suppose the planned activity is given, now the situation has changed, the situation is ever changing and new situation has taken place, so the plan will not work. So plan may not work in dynamic environment. Number 3, plans involve huge cost. Planning has to be done and a lot of resources has to be hired, and it involves a lot of cost. Planning is time consuming. It takes much time to draw a plan and It is not that within a few minutes plan is prepared. So planning is time consuming. So these are certain limitations which has been highlighted. Okay, I hope you will be understanding. Planning this rigidity, that is the person following plan has to go according to the plan and they cannot put their new ideas. Planning may not work in dynamic environment. You know that these changes are situation are ever changing. Like now lockdown is going on. Now if they have planned earlier with certain situation that is not working in the lockdown situation, so it is dynamic. So plan is failing. Number 3, plans involves huge cost. That is, for planning you have to bring man resources, human resources and many things resources to plan. Okay, so it involves cost and time consuming because lot of time has to be devoted to make a plan. So these are certain internal limitation. We are having still more limitation. Okay, and next limitation is planning reduces creativity. Okay, in planning work is to be done as per predetermined plan, whatever is told in advance. You cannot change the same. So if the managerial persons have some creative ideas, they cannot bring into change because they cannot do any creativity or bring new changes. They have to follow the pre-planned things which has been told to achieve. So these are the limitations. These are internal limitations of planning. There are also some external limitation. We'll see the external limitations now. Okay, external limitation of planning. Now the external limitations. These are those limitations of planning which arises due to external forces over which the organization doesn't have any control. Okay, the external forces which may affect the planning. These are limitations. First is change in government policies which may lead failure of planning. Some government has changed a new policy and in earlier policy the planning was made. Now the plan is not working. Number 2, natural calamities like flood, earthquake or any other such natural calamities. It will also adversely affect the planning. The planned activity is not working due to natural calamities, okay, like earthquake, flood, famine, and so and so. Number 3, change in strategies of competition also lead to failure of planning many times. Now the new strategy, new things to tackle the present situation of the business, that is competition, has to be taken place. The earlier strategy is now not working. Regular technological change may affect planning. There is a new technological change. The planning was made with the old technology. At that time what was technology was prevailing, with that the planning was made, but due to new change in technology the new planning has to be done. Old planning will not be effective. Number 5, change in economic and social conditions also reduce effectiveness of planning. Okay, that is, if there is any change in economic condition like the income level of the people has fluctuated, decreased or increased, or the social condition, that is his choice, taste, preferences or the likes and dislikes change, this will also have an impact of the planning and the old plan will not work. So hope you have understand these limitations and the importance of planning and meaning of planning. Okay, so thank you for now and have a nice day.